Khloe was cornered in the alley behind the school by Kyle and his friends. Trying to save her, I got in a fight and accidentally crippled him. But in court, she lied. She committed perjury and helped send me to prison for 10 years on an aggravated assault charge. The day I got out, I tracked her down, furious, needing to know why. I found her wrapped in Kyle's arms. "If it wasn't for you, King wouldn't be in a wheelchair," she sneered. "How could you be so vicious? You should have just rotted in that cell." It turned out that my heroic rescue was just an obstacle to their love story. Blinded by rage, I opened the gas line. I took them with me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on that day. The day Khloe was cornered in the alley. "Leo, let's walk home together after school." I was sitting in the back of the classroom, staring in a daze at a vibrant, smiling Khloe Vance. In my last life, it started just like this. Khloe suddenly asking to walk home together. It ended with Kyle Kingston and his crew trapping us in the alley. Khloe had huddled in a corner, trembling, begging me to save her. I tried to protect her. I ended up a bloody mess on the pavement. After that, Kyle's family sued. I was charged with aggravated assault. I never expected Khloe to lie on the stand, telling the jury she and Kyle were just friends hanging out. She said I was the one who went crazy and attacked him. 10 years. I was sentenced to 10 years in prison. When I got out, I found her and Kyle living together, and all they had for me was scorn. "If it wasn't for you, I would have gotten together with King ages ago," she'd said. "We were just trying to teach you a lesson. How dare you hurt him? You should have just died in prison." I remembered the hiss of the gas, the spark. I took them both with me, and then I woke up, right back here, the day it all began. This time, I wouldn't fall into the trap of their twisted romance. I snapped back to reality. Khloe was looking at me, impatient. "What are you spacing out for? You're always begging to walk home with me." "Fine, I'll let you, but we're taking the route I choose." "My way, okay." I clenched my fists under the desk, fighting the overwhelming urge for revenge. I forced my voice to be flat, neutral. "You go ahead. I have to stay and finish some homework. I'll be home late." Khloe shot me a surprised look, then seemed troubled. "But I'm kind of scared to walk that way by myself. Can't you just do me this one favor? Please." She pressed her palms together, putting on a cute, pleading face. In my past life, that look would have made me melt. I would have done anything she asked. But now it just made my stomach turn. She was engineering a chance encounter with her crush, and she wanted to use me as a prop. How pathetic. "Don't bother me. I'm studying." Khloe stomped her foot and stormed off, clearly annoyed. 7 o'clock. I finished my practice exams and calmly packed my bag. As I was leaving the empty school, my phone rang. It was Khloe. I hesitated for a second. Then I hit the record button before answering the call. "Leo, Kyle and his guys have me cornered in the alley off Miller Street. I'm so scared." A sarcastic smile touched my lips. She went there on purpose, and now she was calling me for help? Was this some kind of act for Kyle, playing hard to get? I wasn't playing along this time. "Do you want me to call the cops?" There was a moment of silence on the other end. "No, don't worry," I said, my voice dripping with false concern. "I'll bring the police to rescue you right away. Just tell me exactly where you are." Her voice turned frantic. "Kyle and I are friends. You don't need to get involved. If you dare call the cops or my parents, I will never speak to you again." The line went dead. I just stood there. In that moment, the sheer injustice of my last life's prison sentence hit me with stunning clarity. I was so incredibly wronged. I carefully saved the audio file. When I got home, my parents had dinner waiting for me. I thought about my last life, how they had aged overnight when I was convicted, their hair turning gray as they spent years fighting for me. A lump formed in my throat, and I almost burst into tears right there. "You guys start without me. I'm just going to wash up." I splashed cold water on my face in the bathroom, steadying myself before I walked out. I had just sat down at the table when there was a frantic knock on the door. It was Khloe's mom. She rushed inside without even taking off her shoes, her voice tight with panic. "Where's Khloe? I thought she was with you. Why didn't she come home with you? I've been calling and calling, and she won't pick up. What if something happened?" I didn't know if something had happened. All I knew was that if it did, Khloe had walked right into it. It had nothing to do with me. I wasn't taking the blame for this. I just shrugged innocently. "Mrs. Vance, she doesn't usually like walking with me. We're practically adults. I can't exactly force her, can I? Besides," I added, "college applications are due in a few months. I've got a ton of studying to do. I don't really have the energy to worry about other things." I wanted nothing to do with her family's drama. So I just played dumb to all her questions. A person has to be missing for 24 hours before the police will even file a report, so there was nothing she could do but go home and wait. After she left, my parents looked at me, curious about my sudden change in attitude. I thought you've always liked that Vance girl. That was before. I'm over her now. In this life, all I wanted was to live in peace. My parents exchanged a look as if they wanted to ask more, but were afraid of upsetting me, so they dropped it. Around 10 that night, Khloe finally came home. She was a complete wreck. Her clothes were torn, she had a fresh bruise on her face, and there were suspicious-looking red marks on her neck. Mrs. Vance dragged her straight over to our house, her face a mask of fury. "Leo, Khloe called you for help. Why didn't you go? Now she's been assaulted by those thugs, and it's all your fault." I looked at Khloe, feigning surprise. "Didn't you tell me not to get involved?" She flinched, avoiding my eyes. "If you had just gotten there sooner to protect me, none of this would have happened. I didn't even know those guys. You have no idea how helpless I was." Hearing this, Mrs. Vance got even angrier and lunged at me, but my mom stepped in and blocked her. Panting, Mrs. Vance pointed a trembling finger at me. "If you don't give me a proper explanation for what happened to my daughter today, this isn't over." Faced with this baseless accusation, I just looked at Khloe. She shrank behind her mother. She secretly made a pleading gesture at me, begging me to take the fall. It was always like this ever since we were kids. No matter what she did wrong, she'd find a way to pin the blame on me. I ignored her silent plea and took out my phone. As Khloe watched in disbelief, I played the call recording, turning the volume all the way up. The audio filled the room, crisp and clear. "Do you want me to call the cops? Kyle and I are friends. You don't need to get involved. If you dare call the cops or my parents, I will never speak to you again." A heavy silence fell over the room. I looked pointedly at Mrs. Vance. "You heard her. She specifically went to see a friend. I figure I shouldn't tag along and be a third wheel." Mrs. Vance's face turned a shade of deep purple. She spun around and slapped Khloe hard across the face. "Have you no self-respect? Getting involved with a punk like that? What kind of future do you think you'll have?" "I don't know those guys," Khloe shrieked. "He's lying to you. That recording is fake." "Then let's call the police," I said calmly. "We'll have them arrest this." "What was his name?" "King." Khloe's face went pale. She grabbed her mother's arm. "Don't you dare. If you do anything to hurt King, I'll jump off a bridge." Watching the two of them scream at each other, my parents and I awkwardly tried to mediate. We finally managed to usher them back to their own house. Once our door was closed, my parents just looked at each other and sighed. Then they went to bed. I put in my earbuds, blocking out the shouting from next door, and did half a practice SAT before going to sleep. In the end, the Vances never called the police. Khloe took a week off from school. When she came back, she sought me out immediately. She looked so pitiful, her eyes brimming with unshed tears of grievance. "Do you have any idea what I've been through this past week? You said you liked me, so why didn't you just take the blame for me?" For a split second, the image of her now overlapped with my childhood memories. Back then, whenever she made that pathetic face, I would feel a crushing guilt for not protecting her better. I'd give her all my toys and snacks, just to see her smile again. Too bad. Those days were long gone. Khloe continued. "Kyle asked me to go to the arcade with him tonight. You have to cover for me with my parents. If you do, I'll forgive you." I glanced at her briefly before turning back to my textbook. My reply was ice cold. "Not happening. You can explain it to your parents yourself." When she realized I wouldn't agree, she got angry and deliberately knocked my books off my desk as she left. "You're such a jerk." I thought that by staying out of Khloe's drama, I could finally focus on my studies. I was wrong. Kyle Kingston decided to come after me. During lunch break, he showed up in the crowded hallway with Khloe in tow. "Listen up, Miller. Stay away from Khloe. She's mine." Then, not caring that dozens of other students were watching, he grabbed Khloe by the neck with one hand and slammed her against the lockers. As everyone gasped, Kyle roughly smashed his mouth against hers. Khloe cried out in pain and covered her lips, and I could see a trickle of blood. Students scattered, and I saw someone run off, probably to get a teacher. Khloe just hung there like a rag doll, completely limp in Kyle's grasp. Her eyes, however, were locked on me, silently screaming for help. Kyle smirked at me, a taunting, possessive look on his face. But you didn't know. This is how she likes it. Rough. I didn't react with the anger he expected. I just gave them a detached look. Yeah, well, congratulations. You two deserve each other. Seeing that he couldn't get a rise out of me, Khloe felt like he'd lost face. He spun around and punched the locker next to Khloe's head, hard. The metal dented with a loud bang. You think you can compete with me? He snarled. I glanced at his trembling, bleeding knuckles. I was done watching their little performance. Without another word, I turned and walked away. Behind me, I heard Khloe's concerned voice. Oh my God, your hand is bleeding. We need to get you to the nurse's office. I seriously couldn't figure out what he was trying to prove. Someone had reported the incident, and the dean of students came to our class to investigate. Khloe, you don't need to be afraid, the dean said gently. The school will support you. We won't let any student bully another. A few girls from our class also gathered around to comfort her. It's okay. You can just tell us the truth. But to everyone's surprise, Khloe flatly denied everything. I wasn't being bullied. We were just messing around. You guys should really mind your own business. So it was true. She really didn't mind being treated like that. In the end, the school dropped the matter. Soon, rumors started flying that Khloe and Kyle were officially dating. While the rest of us were cramming for finals, Khloe started skipping class frequently. She dyed her hair a garish shade of red and started wearing heavy lipstick. She was starting to look like a stereotypical delinquent. Our homeroom teacher, not wanting to see her throw her life away, called her parents in for a conference. That evening, Mrs. Vance was knocking on our door again. Hey there, future in-laws. I wasn't surprised by the term. When we were little, our parents always used to joke about it, calling each other in-laws. But ever since Khloe got older, she hated it when people linked us together. The Vances had specifically asked my parents to stop using that term years ago. For her to be using it now, trying to sound so familiar, could only mean trouble. Sure enough, a second later, Mrs. Vance stated her purpose. Our kids grew up together. They know each other inside and out. And with graduation just around the corner, we have to think about their future. Why don't we have Leo tutor Khloe for a bit? Well, everyone had seen how much Khloe had changed recently. My parents looked at me, uncertain. I just spread my hands helplessly. Mrs. Vance, I have to study for my own exams that my schedule is packed. I'm afraid I just don't have any extra time to tutor her. Mrs. Vance looked at me with disapproval. How can you be so selfish? You two are going to build a family together one day. What's wrong with making a little sacrifice for her now? I let out a sarcastic laugh. Mrs. Vance, you really shouldn't say things like that. She has a boyfriend, you know. But her next words made my blood run cold. Khloe's still young. That Kyle is not a reliable boy. I'll never approve of him. When she comes to her senses, she'll come back. Besides, she continued, it's perfectly normal for girls these days to have a few boyfriends before they get married. You're a boy. You need to be more generous. Don't be so old-fashioned. Old-fashioned? Was that what this was about? The image of Kyle choking Khloe against the lockers flashed in my mind, followed by the memory of her defending him. I felt sick. I raised my voice. I would rather stay single my entire life than marry Khloe Vance. Mrs. Vance frowned, pointing her finger at me. Getting jealous won't help. You should be thinking about how you could do more for her, so she'll remember how good you are. You're not even married yet, and you're already trying to control who she sees? What's going to happen if you do get married? Is she not allowed to have male friends? I was so disgusted I couldn't take it anymore. I pointed to the door. Please leave my house. Seeing that I was serious, Mrs. Vance left, grumbling under her breath. The three of us sat in silence for a long time. The next morning, an indignant Khloe cornered me at school. Why didn't you agree to tutor me? Now my mom signed me up for a weekend SAT prep course. I have no time to go on dates. Are you happy now? Go tell my mom right now that you've changed your mind and you'll tutor me. If you do, I won't hold a grudge for you being such a jerk before. As if I would ever help her. I looked at her, my face a blank mask, and said flatly, impossible. Khloe's expression soured, and she looked like she was about to explode. But then she reined in her temper and forced a smile she probably thought was sweet. She reached out to hug me. Leo, my sweet Leo, please help me out. You always used to help me when we were little. I'm begging you. She had changed so much lately. Even when she was trying to act innocent, she couldn't hide the trashy vibe she now gave off. I pushed her away, repulsed. Graduation is right around the corner. I'm busy studying. Don't come looking for me anymore. Khloe finally lost it. Leo, don't be an ungrateful prick. I'm practically begging you. What more do you want? All you do is study, study, study. Do you know why I don't like you? It's because you're a boring nerd. You have no passion. I really didn't get it. I didn't understand how someone could mistake abuse for romance. My eyes flickered to the fading bruises on her neck. I replied coolly, "You two are definitely hard to understand." I didn't agree to tutor Khloe. She ended up going on her date anyway. That weekend, while I was at home studying, I heard a massive fight break out next door. What is so great about that Kyle kid? What has he done to you? He hits you. If you set one foot out of this house today, I swear I will disown you. Go ahead. Disown me. Just get out of my way. You don't understand me at all. All you ever do is tell me to study. You're nothing like King. The ramen he makes for me tastes like the home I've always wanted. Besides, he hits me because he loves me. You're just an old fossil. You don't understand love. Get back here. You get back here right now. I shook my head, put my earbuds in, and went back to my review sheets. That night, my parents came home late. My mom looked at me cautiously. Khloe's mom collapsed today. She was chasing after Khloe and had a heart attack. She's in the hospital. Your father and I went to help out. We heard Khloe ran off to meet that punk. She didn't even care that her mom was being rushed to the ER. She just left. That girl used to be so sweet. I don't even recognize her anymore. Khloe was that cruel? I was stunned for a moment, a flicker of sympathy rising within me. But then I remembered Mrs. Vance and her unreasonable demands, and the feeling vanished. A polite hospital visit is fine, I said nonchalantly. But it's their family business. It has nothing to do with us. That may be true, but sigh. My dad sighed heavily, looking at me with a complicated expression. I couldn't tell if it was relief or something else. Khloe started staying out all night. She never came home, not even when her mother was discharged from the hospital. We didn't see her at school either. Time flew by, and soon it was time for finals. Walking out of my last exam, I felt a huge wave of relief wash over me. In my last life, I never got to take my finals, never went to college. I had finally made up for that regret. A week after graduation, Khloe finally came home. She was covered in bruises, and she was pregnant. My parents were out that day when Mrs. Vance showed up at our door, dragging Khloe with her. Leo, honey, you two have been so close since you were kids. Please, help me convince her to get an abortion. That cowboy is just no good. Khloe was sobbing. King is such a monster. He brought another girl home and made me wait on them. If I complained at all, he'd hit me. He doesn't even care about the baby. Her eyes were dark and sunken. There were scratch marks on her chin, and her once clear eyes were bloodshot. She radiated the bitter energy of a wronged woman, and she seemed to truly hate Kyle. But I knew this was just for show. Otherwise, why wouldn't she get the abortion? Why was she so determined to have Kyle's baby? I gave a non-committal response. She's an adult now. She has the right to make her own decisions about her life. Khloe's eyes lit up. See, Mom? Leo isn't an old-fashioned fossil like you. I already agreed to break up with Kyle. You trying to force me to get an abortion is going too far. Khloe argued with self-righteous conviction. It's my body, my choice. I'm choosing to have this baby because it's an independent little life. He's a gift from God. No one has the right to kill him. Mom, didn't you raise me to be kind? How can you be so cruel now? I was speechless. Mrs. Vance's face turned ashen. She clutched her chest, her hand trembling as she pointed at Khloe. You ungrateful child. Are you trying to kill me? Khloe seemed to have completely forgotten her own misery, her voice now filled with a disturbing maternal glow. Mom, can you feel the little life in here? Here, feel. She grabbed her mother's hand and pressed it against her own stomach. Mrs. Vance flinched, her face growing even paler. My pills. Go get my pills now. It seemed Khloe was genuinely heartbroken this time. Several times, I saw Kyle standing downstairs from her apartment, looking like a wreck, calling her phone over and over, only to be rejected. All he could do was leave a stream of desperate voice messages. Khloe, I'm so sorry. That other girl meant nothing to me. I can't live without you. I'll prove it to you in my own way. One day, as Khloe was coming downstairs, Kyle in front of her smashed the glass window of the security guard booth with his bare fist. His hand was dripping with blood, but his voice was full of deep emotion. Khloe, I told you I'd prove it to you. I did it. I was sitting on a bench nearby, trying to catch a breeze. I leaned over to the security guard. Hey, is that glass bulletproof? I asked quietly. The guard looked baffled. This ain't a bank, kid. Why would it be bulletproof? I sank into thought. So what exactly was he trying to prove by punching it? The guard was just as confused. Beats me, but I know we've got a security camera right there. That kid isn't going anywhere. While I was trying to figure it out, Khloe had already run over to Kyle, her voice full of anguish. King, you idiot. Why would you do that? You could just tell me you love me. Why do you have to prove it like this? Kyle's face was resolute. Dummy, I told you, I had to prove it to you in my own way. The security guard and I just stared at each other. So, this was a grand romantic gesture. What a unique approach. The two weirdos were on the same wavelength again. They instantly made up. Just as they were about to head to the hospital to get his hand treated, the security guard stepped forward at the perfect moment. That'll be $200 for destruction of community property. After paying the fine, Kyle noticed me standing with the guard. He shot me a death glare. Wow, this violent moron was actually trying to intimidate me. Fine. The debt from my past life had to be settled anyway. I got a burner phone. I contacted a guy I knew from my time in prison. He was in for running illegal gambling rings and loan sharking. For dealing with a piece of trash like Kyle, he was the perfect man for the job. With everything arranged, I snapped the burner SIM card in half and flushed it down the toilet. All I had to do now was wait. There was still plenty of time before college started, so I went on a trip with some friends for a few days. Khloe was constantly posting on her Instagram story. Everything happens for a reason. The picture was of two hands tightly clasped, both wearing rings woven from grass. I silently liked the post. A message from her popped up almost immediately. Hey Leo, King is starting a new business. It's a real moneymaker. Do you want to invest? What kind of money-making scheme could that simple-minded psycho possibly cook up? I'd heard from classmates that Kyle had gotten into gambling lately and had lost a lot of money. He was trying to scam cash from everyone he knew to feed his addiction. I knew my plan was finally working. A smile crept onto my face as I slowly typed my reply. Hope you guys get rich. I'm broke, so I'll sit this one out. Just then, my mom called, her voice hesitant. Something's happened with the Vance family. Why don't you stay on your trip for a few more days? Don't come back just yet. I reminded her that if the Vances asked to borrow money, she should absolutely refuse. After hanging up, I felt a sense of profound peace. They were finally walking, step by step, into the abyss they had dug for themselves. This was their true destiny. I had just sped up the process. I stayed away for another week before returning home. I bought groceries and cooked a nice dinner for my parents. They didn't get home until after dark, looking exhausted. They were surprised to see I had cooked, and over dinner, they told me what had happened over the past 2 weeks. A few days after you left, that Vance girl stole her parents' life savings. Said she was giving it to her boyfriend as startup capital for his business. Her mom ended up back in the hospital from a shock. When her dad heard, he took emergency leave from his job to come back. The day he got home, he collapsed too. Now, no one knows where Khloe and that boy are. They're not answering their phones. She put both her parents in the hospital. I thought of the sappy posts on Khloe's Instagram and couldn't help but find it ironic. She had probably blocked her family from seeing her stories. The elder Vances were eventually discharged. To thank my parents for their help, they invited us over for dinner. Just as the food was being served, Khloe finally came back. She was in rags, looking absolutely wretched. It was obvious she had been badly beaten. She fell to her knees, sobbing, in front of her parents. Mom, Dad, I was wrong. I shouldn't have stolen our money for that animal. He's not even human. He took my money and gambled it all away, and when he lost, he came home and beat me. Oh, God. Mrs. Vance was trembling with rage, but she still pulled her daughter into a comforting embrace. It's okay, you're home now. We can always earn more money. Tomorrow, we'll go to the clinic and take care of the baby. We can start over. Mr. Vance's face was red with anger. He gave his daughter a look of pure disappointment. First, we deal with the baby. I watched silently from the side, with a strong feeling that things weren't going to be that simple. Sure enough, Khloe stubbornly wiped her tears. No, I've decided to have this baby. That's my choice. It has nothing to do with who the biological father is. You don't need to convince me otherwise. Everyone in the room fell silent. My parents pretended to be fascinated by the patterns on the tablecloth. Mrs. Vance expertly popped a nitroglycerin pill and washed it down with her soda. Mr. Vance's face turned a dark, angry purple. His lips trembled for a long time. Finally, he slumped in his chair. Leo, honey, I'm so sorry you all had to see this. In the end, we never ate dinner. My mom gave us a subtle signal, and our family politely excused ourselves and left. Back in our own apartment, my parents sighed. That Khloe, she's really gone down the wrong path. But at least she sees the truth now. That's a good thing. I didn't agree. Khloe, admit she was wrong? Not a chance. And I was right. A couple of days later, I saw Khloe downstairs, whispering into her phone. Don't hurt him. I'll pay you the money he owes. How much is it? Just give me a number. Khloe saw me, and her eyes lit up. Leo, the debt collectors have King. Will you come with me? Please. And can you lend me $20,000? If they don't get the money, they're going to hurt him. I laughed scornfully. What does him getting hurt have to do with me? Besides, I don't have any money. Khloe replied without a second thought. That's easy. Just ask your parents to borrow it from someone. They love you so much, they'll definitely do it if you ask. If that doesn't work, you can just take out a loan. The entitled way she said it sent a chill down my spine. Why don't you take out a loan? I can't pay it back, and I'm pregnant. How can you ask a pregnant woman to take out a loan? Leo, please. You've always helped me, ever since we were kids. Please, just tell me one more time. King has hit rock bottom. I'm the only one who can save him. If I rescue him now, I know he'll be good to me forever. You want me to be happy, don't you? She started moving closer, and I felt a wave of nausea. I quickly backed away and said coldly, Stay away from me, and don't even try that routine on me. Khloe froze, a flicker of humiliation on her face. Fine, I'll figure out the money myself. But, will you just come with me? I'm scared to go alone. Go with her? If I went with her, she'd sell me out in a heartbeat. I refused, and then urged her on. I'm not going. If you want to save Kyle, you better hurry. If you're late, who knows if he'll make it out alive. As expected, Khloe immediately ran back into her building in a panic, probably to get money. The next morning, Mrs. Vance came to our door with tears in her eyes, asking if we knew where Khloe was. She took the deed to the house. I'm sure she wouldn't help that good-for-nothing thug again. I don't dare tell her father. I just told him she went out with friends. I don't know how long I can keep this up. My mom spent a long time comforting her before she finally left. Seeing the Vances' miserable state, I felt not a single shred of pity. In my last life, Khloe told her parents the truth about what happened, but they did nothing. They sat back and let me get convicted for a crime I was manipulated into. Feeling sorry for them would be a betrayal of the person I was in my past life. Khloe didn't succeed in rescuing Kyle. Instead, she got trapped herself. Before long, an explicit video started making the rounds in our old high school group chat. The woman in the video was Khloe. A group of masked men were doing unspeakable things to her. And one of them was Kyle. I recognized him by the scar on his hand. After that scandal broke, a permanent cloud of gloom settled over the Vance household. Mr. Vance quit his job and just lay around the house all day. Mrs. Vance started wearing a mask and sunglasses whenever she went out. She wouldn't even haggle at the farmer's market anymore. My college acceptance letters came in. I had done exceptionally well and got into a great local university, which meant I could come home on weekends to be with my parents. In this life, I was going to be there for them. At my graduation party, Mrs. Vance came alone to give a gift. Future in-laws. She began. My mom gently cut her off with a smile. The kids were never meant to be. I think it's best if we parents don't get involved. In that instant, I saw the last glimmer of hope die in Mrs. Vance's eyes. Not long after I started college, the bank foreclosed on the Vances house. A friend from high school told me what happened. The loan sharks had actually let Khloe go a while ago, but she refused to go home. Kyle was pimping her out to a group of guys every day, living off the money she made. But with her pregnancy becoming more and more obvious, that line of business wasn't going to last much longer. My friend warned me to be careful, saying that Kyle was looking for me. That malicious idiot. He was still obsessed with setting a trap for me. Sure enough, Khloe came to find me on campus. Her appearance had completely changed. Her hair was dyed back to its natural black, the piercings were gone, and even the stick-on tattoos had been scrubbed clean. She looked just like she did in high school, innocent and pure. She gazed at the beautiful campus and the energetic students, a wistful look in her eyes. Leo, if I hadn't taken a wrong turn back then, do you think I could be like them? My eyes drifted to her slightly rounded belly. I was silent for a moment before offering a faint smile. As long as you realize you've made a mistake, it's never too late to get back on the right path. You still have your family. It's not impossible to start over. Khloe paused, her eyes turning a little red. She turned as if to leave, but stopped just before the campus gates. She looked back and held out a hotel key card to me. Kyle and I broke up. If you still like me, come find me tonight. 10 o'clock. The moment I took the key card, my heart turned to ice. She was still trying to destroy me. I had no reason to feel sorry for her anymore. As Khloe walked away, I calmly pulled out my phone and dialed 911. Hello, I'd like to report an extortion scheme. A criminal organization is targeting me, and I need help. 10 o'clock that night. A hotel room. The police found hidden cameras in the room and arrested several thugs in the adjacent room, including Kyle Kingston. Given his prior offenses, Kyle was sent directly to county jail. The arresting officer told me he was looking at 3 to 4 years. Easy. As for Khloe, because she was pregnant, she was let go with a stern warning after being questioned. But as she was leaving the police station, she missed a step and tumbled down the stairs, falling unconscious on the spot. There was a pool of blood on the ground. It looked like the baby was gone. I didn't go near her. I just informed a police officer and turned to leave. The officer seemed to understand. After all, Khloe tried to set me up. Not everyone is capable of turning the other cheek. 2 weeks later, just after being released from the hospital, Khloe called me. She immediately launched into a tirade, blaming me for not walking with her down that alley. My life is ruined, and it's all your fault. How could you be so cruel? Wasn't killing me in our last life enough for you? Now you had to ruin this one for me too. So, she remembered. She had awakened the memories of her past life. Let's meet, I said coolly, and hung up. We met at a coffee shop. Last time, I helped you, I stated calmly, and you lied on the stand and sent me to prison. This time, I didn't help you. It seems perfectly logical, doesn't it? Khloe glared at me, indignant. In our last life, Kyle loved me. It was perfect. It's all your fault for changing our destiny. That's why my life is so miserable now. I was reborn, and all I did was refuse to get involved in their toxic relationship. And her miserable life was somehow my fault. I stared at her, my gaze cold. Kyle is the one who treated you like garbage. He's the reason your life turned out this way. What does it have to do with me? Khloe looked confused for a second. But why didn't he torture me in our last life? I recalled the events of my previous life and answered her with dead serious honesty. That's because in our last life, I crippled him. He was always a monster. But once he was disabled, he couldn't hurt anyone anymore. He had to rely on you to survive. Of course, he wouldn't dare treat you badly. Khloe tilted her head, thinking it over, and then her eyes widened in a moment of sudden, horrifying realization. So you're saying there's only one reason my life is so miserable, and it's because in this life, Kyle isn't disabled yet. Are you telling me that if he becomes a cripple, he'll be good to me again? Even though I was already familiar with her twisted logic, her conclusion still managed to shock me. My mouth twitched. If you insist on looking at it that way, I said slowly, then logically you're not wrong. But I'm not suggesting you do anything. Khloe left. I later heard from a high school friend that her fall had caused severe internal bleeding. To save her life, doctors had to perform a hysterectomy. She had fallen into a deep depression. But now, she had a new purpose, to win back her love. She would be waiting for Kyle when he got out of prison, ready to shower him with affection. I couldn't help but let out a dry, humorless laugh, knowing Khloe's thought process, who knew how things would unfold. During my senior year of college, Kyle Kingston was finally released from prison. Khloe, against her parents' wishes, secretly went to pick him up. They rented an apartment together. For what I heard, he hadn't changed a bit. He was still addicted to gambling and would beat her whenever he was in a bad mood. He even forced her into sex work to support his habit, and Khloe never resisted. It seemed there really was no cure for being lovesick. I was a little disappointed, but I didn't dwell on it. I focused on my life, finishing my internship, and used my knowledge from my past life to invest in some stocks that I knew would take off. One day, I closed my trading app, about to start a game, when a news alert popped up on my phone. Woman suffering from long-term domestic abuse has psychotic break, drugs husband, and severs his Achilles tendons. The woman's face in the photo was blurred, but I recognized her immediately. It was Khloe, because she was diagnosed with temporary insanity brought on by abuse. Khloe was sent to a psychiatric facility for a short period of mandatory treatment. She was released without facing any criminal charges. As for me, I made a fortune in the stock market and quit my job to become a full-time investor. Occasionally, Khloe posts pictures on Instagram, showing off her happy relationship. I always make sure to like them. My career is soaring, and she has her perfect love story. We both have bright futures ahead of us. Putting down my phone, I poured myself a glass of red wine and raised it in a silent toast to the man I used to be. This life is a good life. 19 Epilogue. Khloe's story. My name is Khloe Vance. I have a childhood friend who loves me more than anything. His name is Leo, and ever since we were kids, he would do whatever I wanted. But I don't know why. Lately, he's been acting so difficult. Maybe it's because I fell in love with Kyle. I can't help it. I don't like nice guys. Leo just isn't my type. A real man should be like Kyle. Wild, brave, and direct. He never hides how he feels about me, and his way of expressing it is so raw and honest. He never cares about what I think. He just kisses me whenever he wants. It's rough, but I don't mind it. To me, that's what a man should be. One day, Kyle hinted that he wanted to meet me in the alley. I was dying to go, but I hesitated. A girl going to meet a boy alone. Wouldn't that seem improper? So, I decided to ask Leo to come with me. But he actually refused. From that moment on, things started to go wrong. It turned out Kyle wasn't a good man. He gambled, he cheated, and he liked to hit me. We got into debt. He even forced me to sell my body to pay it off. My parents begged me to get an abortion and leave him. I knew he was a black hole, but I couldn't control how much I loved him. Finally, after everything fell apart, I remembered my past life. I finally understood. The reason my life was so miserable was because Leo had changed. I furiously confronted him, but somehow he convinced me I was wrong. After all, Leo had never actually hurt me. I decided I would wait for Kyle to get out of prison. I would try my best to change him. And if I couldn't change him, I would make him a cripple. This was my grand plan to save our love. In the end, it worked. Kyle now loves me to death. I finally have the love I always wanted. And Leo's career is taking off. Me and my childhood friend, we both have bright futures ahead of us.